Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final, at least for this
For
iteration,
now,
this
for
show,
now.
for now, episode of Fourtress Finest, the spinoff of our normal Fortress of podcast. Where for this one, me and Devin have been going through the Lord of the Rings of Power series, and since the finale just happened, that's the end of it for right now.
Mhm. Cue a really creepy post-credits song. Good God.
A creepy narration post credits.
Yeah.
So right at the top, spoilers for the entire season, obviously, and spoilers for the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit trilogies, and books. So be aware of that, and also any
Mhm.
events that happened before this series. We won't really dive into stuff that could happen after until designated keep it secret, keep it safe sections. So just check out the time codes for all of that.
Mhm.
So let's dive into this. We're gonna go story by my storyline because they were pretty separate. Because of the end, how this episode ended, let's start with the Harfoots and the Strangers plot
Mm.
line.
Yeah.
Uh
Fuck.
Holy fuck, dude. I will just say overall for this episode, I fucking love this episode. I thought it was
Yeah.
incredible. I was sucked
Yeah.
into the magic of all of this. They definitely
Mhm.
saved it the best for last with all of
They
this. Like
did.
mysteries were solved and yada yada. But
Yeah, finished strong. Finished very
yeah,
strong. Also, knew immediately when they start off the episode and the three, mystics find the wizard and they're like, "You're
right.
Sauron." And I'm like, "He's absolutely not Sauron." Like it's like, nah, they wouldn't give it to us like that.
I was like, y'all fucked up.
Yeah, for real. But in that moment I actually did know who Sauron was after that. I was like, "Oh, well now I know." Like
Right.
now we
Yeah.
know.
No, definitely no.
But yeah, no, definitely very cool action sequence there.
Yeah. I mean, just like a lot of like twists and turns too, like when the stranger first is walking and he thinks it's Nori and then it's actually the cultist, which I actually find they didn't get proper names, but they got like titles instead.
Mhm.
And so at least Amazon has them named as the ascetic, the nomad, and the dweller. The dweller is the super magical leader one of
Mhm.
the three.
There's a lot of different powers too. A lot of shape-shifting powers and
Dude, she was, yeah, shape shifting a lot, and then also, like, we're jumping ahead, but, like, when she's I had very to Fellowship of the Ring, Saruman Gandalf fight
mhm.
when she's tossing
Mhm.
him around with the
Mhm.
staff.
That was pretty crazy. And then but it's really her main power is just those creepy ass eyes. Those eyes are
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah, I love how they just they crossed signals. They thought it was Sauron the whole time. It's like they just got bad information.
It's like, wait, it's the other one that's in this prophecy.
They're like,
Oh, like
"We had a 50-50 shot and we lost."
so you're telling me you knew it was gonna be Sauron or it was gonna be a wizard that was definitely gonna not be on your side? And you're just like,
Right.
yeah, this seems good. Like, no, 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 yeah, he landed in fire, looked like an eye. So there you go.
Yeah. I We talked about this one last, week, so bringing it up again, I am a little bit sad to see them go, mostly
Mhm.
just because I wanna know a little more about them, and I'm assuming since
Yeah.
it looks like by the end they're going to where they said, and maybe we'll learn more about where they're from and that stuff, so hopefully we'll get into that because, like, yeah, just very interested, you
Yeah.
know?
They were and they looked really cool, like, everything they do because of those really big flowy capes, like, they were just always kinda
Right.
cool looking, even though they were very scary. I think they definitely coulda
Yeah.
used that as kinda like an anti-ring wraith kinda thing, right? Of just like, oh, instead of a scary black figure, it's a scary white, like, flowy
Yeah,
thing, and they
yeah.
still were creepy as hell. The one thing, though, is, like, how the hell did her hood stay on when Gandalf like, when the wizard is blowing all that wind in her
The
face,
Freudian
and
slip.
then that hood just stays perfectly on her head. I'm like, "Bro, they glued that shit on."
They really did, yeah. A lot of wind effects and, capes of flowing in this episode.
Mhm. They look very pretty. And also,
Yeah.
like, weird plan for them to like, they're like, "Oh, it's Sauron." And they're like, "Oh, he's just kinda freaking out a little bit. Let's tie him up." So then they tie him up and put him in the woods,
It's like when you find, like, a stray dog.
and then they knew the hobbits were there because like, you could see one of them on the side of their eye. They're like, "Oh, yeah, like, there's somebody here." So let's lure them in and make them think that he's here tied up, and then we'll
Right.
go into the woods and find him, even though we're gonna let one of the other ones find him and release him?
I mean, I guess their plan was to, like, when they trapped them, just immediately kill them, but that backfired
I just feel like you didn't have to
immediately.
do all that
No.
work to try to kill them, like, you're 3, undead beings probably, and it's
Right,
4
right.
hobbits. I mean, we saw how this went at Weathertop
It's
without
true.
Aragorn around.
I do like how you get some very hobbity rock throwing. At one point, they're just
Oh
beaming
yeah,
rocks at their heads.
Pippin would be proud.
Yeah. Man, a lot of back and forth whether or not Sadoc was gonna die or not in this. I was like, "No!" He got he got a knife chucked right at him. I was like, "Oh, no." And then I was like, "Oh, wait, he's alive. Yay." And then, "Oh, no, he's"
Yeah, it was very very casual. It was kind of sweet, but then his send off. But I was like, wait, but he definitely was like running around after he got stabbed for like a good while,
Right,
and
yeah.
then he just I don't know. The pacing of that felt kind of weird to me, but
Still sad to see him go.
great actor, great character. Sad to see him go.
It was emotional. Not the only emotional moment. That there was a
Hmm.
moment later in this episode. I genuinely had tears coming from my eyes. It was incredibly well done. But we'll get to it
Hmm.
in a second. Yeah. So Sadek dies. Very sad. I love the moment when Nori goes to give him the staff, and he's like, "I'm good." And then it seems as if as soon as he touches the staff, his whole memory comes back
Yeah,
immediately,
yeah.
and he
He can talk.
realizes who he is. Yeah, right. He can complete sentences now.
After saying less words than Henry Cavill's Superman in Batman versus Superman, which is 5,
Right.
he finally talks in complete sentences, which was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and, he says he's good. I thought that maybe that staff would stick around, but no, it dissolves
Yeah,
as
or
he
maybe
takes out the
change or
cultist.
something. It's just like, oh, okay, it's gone too. Like,
Right, so because I was like, I was looking for clues. I was like, "Alright, who are you, buddy? Who are you
mhm.
now?"
And they haven't outright said it. Okay, but then I guess so.
I
What?
think we know. I think
I
we know
mean,
at this
we
point.
definitely fucking know, but damn it, why though? Like, I'm mad. I'm mad about it.
I know you're mad, but hear me out. We talked about this as well. I still think it's a pretty beautiful story that this is the reason why Gandalf is so fond of hobbits.
Yeah,
It
but
starts from his very first appearance on Middle Earth.
I get that. I get that. I get that. But I kind of liked it being where it's kind of vague why he likes hobbits. It's like, well, he just kind of came there at one of his travels, and it's like, oh, he just kind of really has an affinity for them because of their values, because that's why I
I
think
mean, that's exactly what happened in this, though.
kind of, but like there,
It just
but
wasn't the
in
hobbits
this
you
stage
know.
of Hobbit, like the reason that Gandalf loves hobbits, I think, is the same reason that Tolkien loves hobbits, is because like hobbits know their place in the world. They like being in the Shire. They just live their lives. Simple, gardeners, teachers, brewers, whatever. They just live in their little corner of the world and they're happy with that, right? Like it's a very Tolkien like thing to be like, yeah, like they're happy, live in simple things, like not, like men who are like constantly like corrupted by power and like all these struggles of the world, right? So I
Right.
feel like he could have done that later. These hobbits are kind of more in the survival kind of, space. I don't know. It was something that I didn't feel like we had to define. But put that aside. They didn't actually say it yet, but I mean, he
No,
said, there's a sweet smell over there. Follow your nose, right? I mean, classic Gandalf line.
that as soon as that happened, I was like, "Man, they're really alluding to
As
to
soon as he
that."
started
Yeah.
saying something about smelling, I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. And then it's like, oh,
Yeah,
follow your nose. I was like, God,
follow your nose.
like, because listen,
Yeah.
this show, man, they can do a lot with the script. Like they're already changing the stuff, whatever. Gandalf isn't supposed to be in Middle Earth until the Third Age,
But
okay?
what does it change, though?
Because but here, all right. Here's another thing. If it had been Saruman, I would have loved if it had been Saruman.
I thought for a second it was as soon as he got that staff because that staff looked very
Yeah, and
Saruman-esque, so
it
yeah.
would make sense, right? Because he's the head of the order, he comes first, right?
Mhm.
Like that would make sense. And then you could see like a good side of Saruman before he, eventually turns dark, and it would further flesh out, the
Right.
tragedy of Saruman, right? And now
Yeah.
I get it, like, this is just kind of fun to see more of what Gandalf is doing. But you also have two blue wizards that Tolkien literally wrote nothing about except for the fact
Yeah.
that they're around. That seems perfect for a show, and maybe they're going to bring them in later.
Yeah, I think there's maybe a reason why they held this back still. Maybe they are
Yeah. And
doing
I
something
hope
else
they
with
do
it.
because like they can literally do whatever they want with the two blue wizards. Like they
Yeah.
could, and I hope they bring them in, and they're probably going to die. But like I hope they bring them in though, so you could see at least give something to that story because like even in the Hobbit, right? That there's so little known about the blue wizards that in the Hobbit movie, like Gandalf just like, oh yeah, I don't even remember their names. It's like, bro, what?
Right. Right, yeah.
So anyway, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'm with it. I just like, no matter what you do, There's no way you're gonna top Ian McClellan. Ian
No,
McClellan
but
is and always will
I
be
really
Gandalf.
like this interpretation. If this is Gandalf, I love him and Nori, and like we basically reached the end of their story bit where
Mhm,
Nori's in a very emotional beat of the episode. I think the most emotional in terms of tears.
mhm,
Like I said, I was
mhm,
in tears at this moment when she says goodbye to her fam. Like her fam says you should go with them, and she's
mhm,
gonna go. A hobbit, a Harfoot, and a wizard are gonna go on a little quest.
mhm.
They're going to Rune. They're still going to where the cultists said. I guess to find answers.
I think there's, like, Easterlings over there or something. It's, like, the lands, like, north of Mordor. Not really sure where they're
Right,
going.
right. We don't really know much about it, so which is kind of cool.
My theory is that it'll be, like, some Easterlings, and then they'll meet, some of those men, and then they'll maybe see somebody we'll get to later, but maybe we'll see a certain, gift giver come through,
Right.
but
Hmm.
I don't know. One last thing, okay? I know people are up on the aging in the show. I'm with it. Like I think the younger elves are okay, and then eventually, as thousands of years go by, they get a little bit older. But like the wizards were always the same, though. Like they were sent looking like old men so that they would help and like stay humble, right? They're when they go to Valinor, I don't think Gandalf looks like that, but in
Right.
Middle Earth, they were sent as old men to stay humble and like help the leaders of Middle Earth. And I
Uh-huh.
don't think they age at all. So I don't know. To me, Gandalf should always be Gandalf, just the same age. But
I mean, this guy, he doesn't look young, young. He looks like
I
an
mean, he's still
oldish
old.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's just every time I see him, man, it's just be like, it's not even McClellan. Every time I do it, every time he comes on screen, it's gonna be like, not Ian, Sir Ian, unless they get Sir Ian for season 2, which
There's no
they won't.
fucking way. He's older now than he was. There's no way.
Bring him back. Bring him back.
Yeah, but no, the moment that killed me was when Poppy comes back to say goodbye to her. Because like
Hmm.
Poppy's like, says a quick
Yeah.
goodbye, she can't do it, and then she says the fucking line that killed me was, "Why does everyone I love the most always have to go away?" And like, yeah, because we learned that her whole family is
Yeah.
gone, they died,
Yeah.
and now she's losing her best friend. Is incredibly emotional, and I love that
Hmm.
Frodo's losing his Sam a little bit right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, like, yeah, she says goodbye to all of them, she's gonna go. I do love the little, like, homage to Frodo where she has no idea where to go. Kinda like when
Hmm.
Frodo, doesn't know which way Mordor is.
It's like, which way? He's like, yeah, I can't walk. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, we talked about he says, Istar means wise one or wizard, so
Hmm.
there you go. That was your confirmation that he is not, in fact, Sauron.
Yeah. Saw that one coming a mile away. We always knew it was which one was it gonna be.
Yeah, it was a little back and forth every now and then, but it's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, definitely look forward to them next season, especially now that he can talk.
I know, thank God. Yeah, they had to, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't get a name though. Yeah, we'll have to see if he's withholding that or if he just doesn't know, which would be weird.
What if they just go the whole show and just never call him Gandalf?
They could do that.
They wouldn't do that though. They just gave it away. Like, ugh,
Yeah, yeah, a little bit, a little maybe. Yeah.
yeah,
All right, now let's quickly cover the Numenor stuff.
yeah. There's not really much there for
There's
them.
not much there, but there is something interesting, and we'll have to tail it back into our questions for next season as well.
Hmm.
The major thing that happens is King, old homeboy King, looking pretty ill,
Yeah.
not well at all. But
Wait, where else? Where else have we seen an old king figure going kind of crazy, talking to somebody else that is not who he
oh my
thinks it
god, I
is?
didn't even fucking think about that. Holy shit,
Where else have we seen that recently?
that's fucking nuts. I did not even think of that. That's so funny. And where someone takes the message completely, probably the wrong way, and it wasn't intended for them. That's absolutely
Go up
hilarious.
there and look in the Palantir. It's called the Song of Ice and Fire. The kingdom of the dragon,
That's
the house of the
and it's
dragon
even
must
about
remain.
profit. Yeah, that's
It's like,
so
what are you
fucking
talking
funny.
about, bro? Like, wrong show, wrong show.
Right. Yeah, there's not much there except we'll talk about Aarian's whole plot at the end of our questions for next
Hmm.
season. But yeah, so she goes up there because he's thinking he's talking to Muriel, and he's like, if the old ways are not restored, our island will fall. But my thing is before that, he says something along the lines of like, I know what you've been doing in the night when everyone else is asleep, basically.
Yeah,
What? I don't know what the hell that means. And if that's the case, what has Muriel been doing? Like looking at the Palantir too much, maybe?
I think that's what I was reading as. or
Okay.
that somebody was, or maybe it was like to his handmaiden or something that like somebody was poisoning him. But I think I read that as like, yeah, like she's going up and looking at the Palantir and she shouldn't be. But then he's immediately like, hey, you should go
Go
look at
look at
this.
it.
Like,
Right, that's why I was a little confused, but I don't know, we'll see.
yeah,
And then, yeah, you got a little bit of, Elendil and, Muriel just talking about life and, like, why he picked up Galadriel and stuff.
right. And I think he finally, and like, I think before that, I think Muriel was trying to feel him out if like he was one of the faithful, right? And I think he
Right,
then
right.
finally confirmed it, even though like, I mean, you kind of knew the whole time, like the dude speaks English. He was willing to go with you.
You mean Elvish.
This is not, wait, what did I say?
You said English. They
Well, he
all
speaks
speak
that too.
she's like, "All of these faithful, they all speak English."
Yeah. Well, it should be a pretty alarming sign, I guess, but no. He speaks Elvish, okay. And yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, I think that was just kind of a confirmation of that. But bro,
Yeah.
Isildur is still under them damn that
He's
burnt
still
down house.
he's still like, "Help, please." That's another question we'll get to at the end,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
where is Isildur?
yeah.
And then the big event for them is, the king's dead.
Yep.
They got the black sails up, and,
Hmm.
Pharazôn is standing very ominously over his corpse.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be a rough time in Numenor starting pretty soon.
It doesn't look like, yeah, so we'll see
Maybe.
what happens with that.
Hmm.
Alright, our final and, most intense storyline, I
Definitely the
must say.
best. Like this really brought it home. This is like what
Oh,
this show was for this like plot.
this shit was fucking nuts, dude.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job.
And we, like, after last week, me and you were both like, "Okay, we know." But
Yeah.
even so, like, the way it all went, like, laid out, and, like, we'll talk
Mhm.
about the scene where it's revealed in a
What
second,
my
but
question is, when did you when did it, like, really stick for
the
you? Like,
moment he walked into the room with Celebrimbor,
yes! I mean, this man was just recovering from a
4
grievous wound,
seconds.
and he's like, "Hey, what you got going on here? What you making? You doing something? Oh, wow, that's
It
crazy.
was
Hey,
so
here's a gift. Oh,
funny.
hey, did you ever try doing it this way? Oh, wow, that's crazy. You should have thought about it doing this way. Oh, what
You
me? I'm just a guy. I just know some stuff. I mean, I don't, is that me? I don't know.
uh,
But maybe try doing it this way."
oh, so, like, immediately, as soon as this like, it shows Celebrimbor in there, and I just see the outline of him, I was like, "Oh, no.
Yeah, yeah.
It's happening."
It's like, "Hey, what you doing?" And then the fact that Caleb Brimbo is like, bro, like the hospital's like 5 towers away. Like, what are you
Even
doing here?"
Celebrimbor's like, "Shouldn't you be, like, resting?" Like,
Yeah.
didn't Galadriel say you had, like, a, like, life-threatening wound?
They instantly healed him, AKA
That
he
elf
was not,
medicine was really good.
dude, Inception. He stabbed himself just to get her to take him with him.
I mean, even last we were talking about, like, I was like, "Yo, he's going to Linden." I
Yeah.
think it's happening, and so, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And now it all like I guess the clues were there the whole
Fuck yeah, they were
time
there.
because like I mean he was a smith,
He was a smith.
he really wanted to forge some stuff.
He was a Numenor in a cell. He had a weird rage moment where he beat the shit out of 4 dudes.
Mhm.
And again, like we were saying, it's all Galadriel's fault.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's not, but, like, because we don't know what would have happened, who would have found him on that raft, but it's kinda funny to think about it
But
that way.
see, I think that's my only question left is like, what was he doing out in the middle of the thing? I think he
Did he know?
somehow like tracked, like, I don't know. I think he knew like something, like he engineered that meeting. I think he had to have because like, what else would he have been doing out there?
I don't know, I kinda like it. It does leave us with questions on how much of what he's saying is true, and we'll talk about it, but
Hmm.
that was to me, I kinda like the idea that he didn't plan that, and that he was defeated.
Well, if he didn't plan that, then it really is all the fucking Galadriel's fault because like,
And I kinda like that, like, not because, like, to blame her, because I obviously, like, a lot of things had to happen for all of this to come together, but she was a piece of it, and a pretty major one, but I kinda like
mhm,
the idea that her being unsatisfied with not finding Sauron, to jumping off the boat to Valinor, to
mhm,
leaving, eventually led to finding she found Sauron. She certainly
true.
found Sauron.
She literally found.
I like the irony of fate,
How
yeah.
serendipitous was that? I can't leave yet. I gotta go find him. Instantly, the first boat you come
The
across
first
has
person she fucking
the
finds is
first person. Yeah.
Sauron.
Hey, it's him. It was here
Like,
the whole
that's
time.
amazing, man.
True. Because like, all right, let's play it out. Like, if she had just gone to Valinor. Maybe that raft never happens. I don't know. I still feel like
Maybe he
he
gets
engineered
eaten by
that.
that big fish with the rest of those people he's with.
I bet because you can't kill him that way because like he's already,
No,
So I think he did that. I think he set that meeting up and he
I don't
knew that
know.
she was going to do that. But I don't know.
That's a lot of work, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
But dude, he played his part like masterfully.
Beautifully.
And now I'm really excited going forward for what's next, but like in the next seasons because like I was kind of
Right,
wondering like how they're going to do, like what he should be doing. For
right.
for anybody that hasn't gotten it yet, Halbrand is Sauron. Like it's,
Yeah,
that's
we
what they
haven't said it, but like, yeah, the show says it. It shows an image of Sauron in his reflection in the water. He literally says that you were the reason Sauron survived, basically. Like that he
right.
is Sauron.
Yeah. And then like, I mean, okay, so but first of all, he was like dead, which first of all, that shot of them running up to Lyndon when he's like dead on the horse and she's
You
like
can't even
galloping
see his
and it's just this
face.
limp body like on the horse behind her was hilarious. But
Yeah,
anyway, he goes from that to like instantly like, oh,
he's
hey there,
totally
Caleb
fine.
Brimboy, what you working on? Like in 5 minutes. And then
Yeah.
he's like, oh, like call it a gift. Like, and that was always the thing in the
Uh-huh.
books. Like he was called, I think, what was his name? Starts with an A. I think like
Oh,
Anuvatar, I think, something like
I guess
that.
something like that. I
But
can't
it's the
remember, but
master
yeah.
of gifts. The master of gifts is like, but when he said that line, like, a gift for you, I was like, oh,
Mhm.
Sauron. It's Sauron.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like, to the point where, like, I think the show even had us, like, cluing us in. Like, after that point, Galadriel's incredibly suspicious of him, and
Hmm.
he's even got, like, the creepy music behind him. It's like, yes! Like, it's absolutely him.
Hmm. And also, like, when I think she realized something was up when she goes in the room and Elrond's like, yeah, yeah, with this, we combine the power of the unseen world and the seen world.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Celebrimbor's like, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, the power that we'll get out of this. And Galadriel's like, wait, hold up. This is not very elfin like. Like, this ain't
Well,
us.
also because she heard that before from Adar. She had just had that conversation with Adar about how
Hmm.
Sauron was trying to find the power of the unseen world at that fortress she was
Hmm.
at. She had literally
Hmm.
just heard that. So when that quote comes back, she's like, "Who the fuck told you that? Who said that? Also, was
Yeah,
Halbrand in the room with you?"
right.
And this is where I was like, "Do you think that Sauron like did something to Celebrimbor in that moment?" Because
Yeah,
even
because
Celebrimbor's like, "I don't
he was a little
know."
fuzzy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
But that's
wonder.
the thing. I kind of like that ambiguity that they wrote in there because like
Mhm.
Sauron is that kind of like, he bends you to his will like the longer
Yeah.
you're around him. And like that's, it's kind of like the power of like Wormtongue and Theoden, right? Like later in the
Right.
trilogy, like you start kind of falling to his will the farther you're around him. And like, even these elves that are, very, very old beings are still not immune to it. But they also and like that's kind of the cool thing here is that like he wasn't wrong, right? Like he lays out kind of his whole logic to her, which is kind of interesting to hear, but
Dude, I literally just wrote in my notes, are they really trying to fucking empathize Sauron right now?
right.
And I kinda dug it.
But yeah, because I think that's accurate. That like he believed that he was going to heal Middle Earth, but his idea is control, right? Like order, control, like but
Mhm.
under everything under my vision, right? And
Right.
that's what the rings are for, is to bend everything to his will, right? Whereas like everybody else, we want freedom, that kind of
Well,
stuff.
wait, he has that line where or Galadriel, he says, like, something we could rule, and she says or, like, save Middle-earth, and she says, "Save or rule?" And he just says, "I see no difference." Like, he doesn't see the
Hmm.
difference between saving Middle-earth and ruling Middle-earth, and that's when she's like, "And that's exactly why I have to stop you, because
Right.
there is a difference there."
Right. Exactly. No, I still do think that he's maybe doing some lip service because like he is evil at the end of the day. But the only reason that he like I guess the reason he fights the armies of, men, elves, dwarves is because they refuse to like embrace his vision, right? It's like my vision for Middle Earth to heal it is this.
Like, I kinda like the idea that he isn't fully evil, though. Like, he is evil. Like, when he points out how it makes me create a different scenario in my head where if Galadriel said yes to this, maybe things would have went differently. Because he says, "You bind me to the light, and I bind you to power." And so I think
Hmm.
being with Galadriel would keep Sauron not from being the evil bastard he eventually is. And so I kinda like the idea that maybe he is telling this whole conversation, I'm constantly like, what is true and what is not?
Yeah.
And there's part of me that thinks maybe all of this is 100% true. Because like he said, he was telling her the truth the whole time where he said, "I've done evil shit, but you said it didn't matter because
Mhm.
our pasts are our past, we can move forward, and because of that, I thought I could heal Middle Earth, based on all the shitty things I did, and also Morgoth was controlling me. It felt like a clenched fist was wrapped around my throat, and there was a release finally. I could finally feel the light again after that he was gone."
Right.
And so I kind of believe that, which is why I was like, "Holy shit, I can't believe they're going this route with this character." And I kind of like it because obviously, like the Sauron we know is a one note villain. So I
Yeah,
kind of like that they're
exactly.
they're doing something a little different. And going forward, we know from the Lord of the Rings trilogy that Galadriel has seen like a vision where if she does take the ring, she becomes this evil, scary
Mhm.
queen. She calls
Mhm.
herself a queen, much like Sauron does.
Mhm.
And so the idea that if either one of them ruled solely, it would be terrible. But maybe, just maybe, the potential if they were together, that would balance everything. I don't know. I thought that was
Yeah.
interesting.
I don't know. I guess I need to look up, like, what because his eventual goal was to dominate all life, right? Like, that's the power of the rings. He wants to basically control, like, if the rings go as planned, he controls every ring, and then they all bow
Right.
to him, right? And so that's, like, I just can't see that being, like, a light thing. I think he's, like, trying to kinda sell her on, like, the idea of it and make it sound good to her, but at the end of
Right.
the day, even if she did join him, I still don't think it's gonna end well for everybody. Like, I think it.
Well, I see it as if he makes the rings, still, he's like, either way, I'm gonna do my plan, but with
Right.
you, it might go well. It might go
But
better.
I think that's what he wasn't telling her, was that he was gonna forge another one, you know?
Right. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I
Right.
think that
Right.
in the end of
Yeah.
the day, be like, "Okay, yeah, you're on my side now, and, oh, guess what? Now you're also under my control as well because I have the One Ring." So, I don't know. I Sauron's evil, like, I don't think but it is kinda interesting to get, like, well, it's just because my vision for Middle-earth is different from your vision, and that's, and that is kind of at the heart of it, but Sauron's vision is much, much darker for Middle-earth than.
It's also harder because like everything we've known about Sauron is one note. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
but obviously, I don't know how well of a show that makes, especially
True.
with everything we've seen with this character, like, we've sympathized with Halbrand throughout the season,
Mhm.
to just have him go, "I'm fucking evil now forever, haha," like classic villain. I don't know if that would work for the rest
Yeah,
of this show
true.
going forward.
And now going forward, I'm really curious to see what they're gonna do, because now, so we don't know how much he can shapeshift, now, and I don't know
Right,
if he'll appear in other forms, whatever. But, like, it'll be fun to kind of see him work, and then
right,
see what, well, just like to see what tidbits he throws in of, like, if we get more of that rationalization of, like, why he
right.
believes in his plan.
Yeah. I mean, I hope we keep that actor because I think he killed it, especially in this scene. He fucking killed it.
Ooh,
I think they both did, and so I hope he sticks around. And I think he will. I
yeah.
think it might. I wonder how maybe they'll do the type of shape shifting things because obviously, if word goes around that like a wanted poster, don't trust this guy. Obviously, like people will be like, "Oh, you're Sauron," you know. So
Yeah.
I do wonder going forward how they're gonna mix that up as well. So maybe it'll
Yeah.
be like a thing where we'll see a brief moment that he casts something so that other people see him as a different person, but we'll just see that same actor for
Mhm.
continuity's sake, maybe or something.
Mhm.
I don't know.
But I'm just very excited to see what next, because, like, just think to the back to the prologue of Fellowship of the Ring. Like, so there's 7. He's gonna I guess he's gonna make them, because I thought maybe the elves made the dwarven rings, but I guess in the show he's gonna make the 7, and of course the 9.
Right. Well, yeah, because that's what from what I remember was that all of the rings were like super terrible except for the 3 Elven ones because he didn't have a hand in those.
Right.
He helped Celebrimbor learn how to make them, but he wasn't actually there, so that's why those 3 were the actual only ones that weren't as
Mhm.
terrible.
And I did like that touch in the show as well, of, like, his plan was 2, and he wanted to do it with 2, and then Galadriel was like, "Well, we can't do it the way he wanted to do it, so let's do 3."
Let's do 3.
So that,
And I like the logic because they said what 1 1 will always corrupt, 2 will divide,
mhm,
and that way 3 there is balance. So I
right.
kinda, yeah, like that logic as well, yeah.
You can also have balance with 2, the yin and the yang. Okay. I mean, come on. Sun,
I guess, but,
moon.
like, I if we've seen Star Wars, the rule of 2 is a terrible rule, so
Right.
I guess that's why there 2 will divide,
I think
so
1's a bad idea. 2,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just gonna get in there and be like, "Hey, 4. What's
I
wrong
was
with
about to say,
4?
why not like 8?
Why not 12? Like, listen, that dagger, there's a lot of dagger in there. I mean, you could that dagger, the melted dagger, that could make about 20 rings, I'm gonna say. 30. I think it can make about 30 rings.
Right. I don't know if it's about that, though. I think it's the limited amount of mithril they had, though.
True. Plus they only have 3 cool looking gems. So
That's also a good point.
yeah.
Yeah, which let's talk about that real quick. It was kind of a nice character arc throughout the season for Galadriel to have to sacrifice her brother's dagger. The last piece
Hmm.
of her brother physically that she had to sacrifice, as they say in the show, to
Hmm.
create these 3 rings. Which I was as soon as she goes in there and she's like, "We have to make 3." I was like, "Oh, so I guess she's continuing with the plan to counter Sauron because she's
Hmm.
afraid now of what he's done." So she's
Yeah.
still going through with it. Yeah.
Because he wasn't wrong. Like the elves did need, they needed
Yeah.
something from this mithril, and he did give them the way to do that. However, what they don't know is that he thinks he can bend them to his will, right? With these,
Right.
by doing this power. So it is like he wasn't wrong in that scene where he's like, "You guys need me," and because they needed to. So now with these rings, they'll be able to like forestall their decline, I guess.
Overall, for this scene, real quick, I was kind of interested, or I found it interesting that in my head, I thought this whole process would be a lot longer. I did not
Yeah.
expect Sauron to go there, corrupt Celebrimbor, not even corrupt him, but just influence Celebrimbor in a 20-minute sequence, you
Right.
know? I
Right.
thought this was gonna be like episodes, or at least a whole season of him being there.
Hmm.
So I was
Hmm.
like, because by the end of the episode, I was like, wait, what the fuck are we gonna do now? Like, what's next? I thought
Yeah.
this was gonna be like a major milestone throughout the series. So I
Yeah.
just thought that was interesting. Yeah.
Exactly, because you're right, but I think the reason they did it this way is because we would have seen it coming a mile away. Because we
Oh
did
yeah.
we already saw it coming as soon as as soon as
As
he
soon as
showed
he
the
walked in the
slightest
door.
the slightest inkling of interest in what Celebrimbor is doing, we were on it like hawks.
Yeah.
So I think that the reason they did it this way was to keep the twist like immediate,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
then
it totally makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because like whoever is going to work with Celebrimbor over like a few seasons, we would have been like, that's Sauron, like, you know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So, and
Yeah.
I
No,
think in the books, I think in the lore, like that is, it's more like that. It was a long process because
it's a longer process,
he
right?
was bopping around everywhere, like deceiving people. So
Mhm.
now we'll be in on it as the audience. And I don't know that,
If
like
that
maybe
would've
he'll make a
worked.
trip back to Numenor. He'll definitely go talk to some dwarves and some men, and they won't know, but we'll know. So that'll be kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
But now, like that's just what I wanted from the show was for the audience to know and to see him in action of like, leading to all
Yeah.
these declines.
I
So,
just kinda solved my own question now, right, by, with the whole, like, how is he gonna get around with this giant wanted poster if people don't trust this guy? It's because Galadriel can't tell anyone. We've seen by the end of this episode that she has to keep a secret that he was Sauron out of a fear. Like Sauron says, like, what do you think the elves are gonna do when they find out that you helped Sauron survive? Like they already didn't like you and trust you. They're trying to ship your ass off to Valinor. Like, what are you gonna do? And so, like, that's why she doesn't tell Elrond who he is, and that's why Elrond gives her that look when he finds the scroll, and he at that point like discovers like, so what exactly happened? This guy's clearly not who he says he was, but who was he? He obviously has a look on his face like, I need to have a conversation with you. And so I
yeah,
think Galadriel doesn't tell them because she knows what they could do. But so that might also explain why the word about Halbrand being Sauron doesn't get around the entire world.
yeah, but I feel like that's kind of weak though because like the fact that she's identified Sauron should be way more important than like whatever consequences the elves have put on you.
I
Like
agree.
I mean, Gilgalad, that's the first person she should be telling who it is.
I agree. I agree. So, and maybe they'll address that next season because I did
Yeah.
find it a little weird that she wasn't like it's Sauron, but then I thought about it what he was saying. I was like, okay, maybe she has a point. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean, I feel like the show tried to sell that to us of like, oh, she can't tell anybody because, they'll chastise her or whatever. But it's like,
or
who
kill
cares,
her.
dude? This is the
Yeah.
whole reason you're here is to fight this guy. So like,
Right.
I don't know. Like
Right.
I think that she should be running around, screaming that from mountaintops, like, Sauron is Hellbrand. Sauron is
Exactly.
Hellbrand. Like,
Exactly.
hey Elendil, Sauron, don't trust that guy.
Right. I did love the sequence, just like the tenseness of that whole sequence when he comes to her and she's like, "Who are you?" And then he just flat out was like, "I have many names," and he stops her from killing
Yeah.
him. And then for a second, it's her back in Valinor. I was like, "Holy shit!" He just yeeted her ass
I
back to
know. That's what
Valinor, dude.
I thought that for a second too. Is like, did he just put her night night? Like, oh, time to go to Valinor.
But that was I love the mind games, unless she even knows, like, "Get out of like, quit get out of my head." Like, I
Mhm,
love that entire sequence was one of the best of this entire season so far, and we get to see her brother come back, which is cool. I mean, not really her brother,
mhm,
but cool, the actor. And I did like where he talks about, like, "What did I say to you before?" About, like, "You have to touch the darkness," whatever.
mhm.
And I just like the idea that if Galadriel had fucked Halbrand, she really would have touched the darkness.
Oh god. Yeah, I'm glad that probably won't
Ugh,
be a love interest anymore. Or
probably
there
not, but,
there
man,
wasn't one, but,
ugh.
I mean, I don't know.
It was close. There were some sparks
There
there.
was
There are
some
definite
flirtiness, yeah.
sparks. But yeah, yeah, the idea of him wanting her to be his bride, I thought was so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that shot of them, like, their reflections in the water, I thought was very cool. Like
Yes. Yeah.
like the, their full form kinda selves, I thought that was really, really sweet.
hmm
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest reveal besides Wizard Man, who we still don't know, but that
Mhm.
was we finally got it. And I'm glad we did. We don't need the mystery box, everything. I'm glad they were just like, all right, here we
Yeah,
go. Let's
yeah.
let's let's kick it.
So now the show has momentum. I'm very excited for what comes next because now we'll like
Yeah.
maybe the mystery of each season will be like, ooh, who's gonna get the next rings, you know? And like,
Right. Yeah. So that's the last piece of this little storyline is that they make the rings. We get Narya, Nenya, and Vilna, who we won't talk about who gets them, but it's elves. Pretty obvious.
yeah,
Um I love the whole sequence. It looks so cool just to watch them all do it.
yeah,
Very much like that teaser of the reveal of
hmm
the name of the show. Very cool.
hmm yeah, that was cool. I thought for a second they did the shot of it like rotating around the table of the three rings like two or three times, and I was like, we already didn't we just see this shot? Like they just did it
Yeah.
again. They were just so proud of themselves. Maybe they
Yeah.
actually forged the rings on set. And they're like, yeah, we did it authentically, and like we're really,
That would
really
it yeah,
proud of it.
right. Yeah.
Maybe they did. I don't know.
Maybe. And then the very last shot, Halbrand's in Mordor. He's back
Mhm.
home, heading towards that Mount Doom, maybe.
Are we gonna be
We'll
rooting
see.
for him against Adar? Because I'm not.
I mean, he stands no chance for one thing. But I'm telling you, it goes back to like when he said, "Do you know me?" And
Yeah,
Adar said no. It's because he didn't recognize him.
yeah,
I think he absolutely knows who Adar is. Sauron. Yeah.
yeah.
And
Oh, he
so
does for
I
sure.
love that. Yeah. Fantastic.
They just have some explaining to do of like that gap in between there, because like if he
Right.
did actually stab Sauron in the back, and then Sauron ended somehow in between then and
Maybe
there,
that's how he ends up on that raft like a desolate fucker.
maybe. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe that's how that happens. I don't
I
know.
don't know. They need to explain the raft because like that was so completely out of the blue. The whole ocean, thing of the show was very crazy. Like, okay, she's just
Yeah.
gonna Diane Naiad swim her way all the way back to Middle Earth when you had to take a boat to get there. And this like it's not an easy sea to cross. Like, it's not like
No.
there's no perils crossing the Sea
Right.
to Valinor. That's why the Numenorians don't try it regularly or something. It's like it's not easy.
Yeah. Right.
And then there's just some random people floating. I don't know. They need to explain that in season 2 for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, so let's get into real, I guess, not slight keep it secret, keep it safe questions about what could happen next season. Also,
Hmm
Isildur we talked about, he's trapped in a fucking house
He's
still.
still under that house.
Also, he is dangerously close to Sauron now.
I'm thinking he might see Sauron. Like, I'm
It's
thinking they might do
possible.
something there. Because, like, I don't know, Isildur's going to do something. Maybe Isildur will team up with Adar or something. Either way, like, it'll be cool to, like, get a little bit of inside Mordor next season. Because Isildur's
Right.
got to book it out of there.
Yeah, he does. That horse needs to come a galloping, man. Save his
Yeah, for
ass.
real.
Again, Aarion, what the hell is she doing with the
Yeah, what's
Palantir?
she going to see?
What is she gonna see? Because like she's a new character written for the show, as far as I'm concerned. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, they can do whatever we want. We don't know what the hell her deal is. So
I'm glad to finally have a reason to care about her character, too. Because, like, up until now, I was like, I don't give a shit
I
about her or the other guy.
yeah.
Like, Farazan's son, I guess. I still don't know his name. I'm like, I don't care.
I think it was Kevin, but I could be wrong. I might be thinking of House of the Dragon. I don't remember.
Did you say Kevin?
Anyways, yeah, I think so. It's like Keven, I think though. So you know how they just change one
Oh,
vowel.
I was just always like like Ariandel, Elendil, Isidore, Kevin,
Yeah, it's so dumb every
Todd,
time.
Chad.
Uh, Obviously no Arondir and Bronwyn, so they're
I
settling
think they'll be
down.
back. I think
Yeah, oh, yeah. We last
Arondir will
time
be
we
back
heard they
for
were gonna
sure.
settle down at that,
I
settlement
think I
near
think
the
what he'll
coast,
do is like, okay, family, like you guys go chill there by the coast. I gotta go do some badass elf stuff
right? We'll
because
see.
we need that. We need more of that.
And we're talking about it earlier. Do we think we're gonna see Poppy and the other Harfoots next season? I hope so, but I don't know
Yeah,
what the
I don't
hell
really
we'd
know what
see
they
them
would do with
do.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like Nori might be our only Hobbit.
I'm mostly sad because, like, she needs her Sam. She needs her Sam. So I don't
Yeah,
wanna see Poppy go. I really liked Poppy and even the rest of her fam, but this did kind of feel and potentially was a goodbye for the Harfoots for at least, the time
yeah.
being.
Maybe
Yeah.
they. I mean, Poppy might show up, but I don't know.
I don't know. It does seem like Poppy might become the new trail leader, considering she knows how
True,
to read a
true.
map that's not upside
Yeah,
down.
yeah. I just don't know what they would do with the Hobbit storyline now because like they're not. And I think that's the Second Age should be heavier on like elves, dwarves, and men kind of stuff. Like it's not the hobbits don't really have a
Right.
large part of
I
what
mean, if anything,
happens.
we
So
see them head west because they are very far east right now.
right, right, exactly.
Which
Yeah.
also we didn't talk about that forest, which was called the Greenwood. That is what eventually becomes Mirkwood. So I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of cool.
That's where
Yeah.
Legolas is from.
Yeah.
So
So I for a second when they were creeping and the cultists see something, I for a second or the stranger does. For a second I was like, yo, we gonna see some wood elves for a second? Is that what's about to happen
that'd be
right now?
cool. They just
So
get
sadly no.
ambushed by Legolas again. Just like the spiders and the
Yeah,
hobbits. Like, bro, just don't come in these woods, man. Don't do it.
right. And then I guess that's why they did the Balrog last week, because that was the end of Durin's storyline, was
Hmm.
just anticipating, oh,
Yeah.
this is what's down there. So now I'm okay with them showing it because they left a cliffhanger for much of these storylines. It just happened to
Hmm.
be last week instead of this week,
Yeah.
you know?
He's gonna get a nice knock on the door from a certain uh I don't know his name, but it rhymes with Maron. And he's gonna be like, "Hey, don't you let that mithril? I got a nice ring for you to help you
I
not
got a
to help the
thing.
mountain not fall down on you while you mine it."
Right. We should work together. I'm very good at this stuff.
What's the Elvish word for Sauron? Sauron. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of it. I really love this
Yeah.
episode and this show as a whole, and I'm very much looking forward to now that most of the mystery is gone and people kind
Mhm.
of know the players are all on the board.
Mhm.
I'm very much looking forward to season 2.
Board is set. The pieces are moving.
Pieces are moving. Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I think it definitely finished strong. I feel like it could have been there was definitely some weak parts of the show, but I feel like maybe those were kind of like first, you know, like kind of just working out the first season kind of stuff, and
It
then they'll
very much had, yeah, season
yeah,
1 like trying to figure these characters out, also having to do a shit ton of lore dumps
yeah,
throughout.
for sure.
So,
But yeah, I
yeah.
mean, very like it could have been so much worse, but I think that
Oh
they
god,
they
yeah.
definitely landed the ship that landed the plane on season 1.
Yeah,
So I'm excited for what like I'm excited to see what happens next and watch it.
right. And fuck, like, they did the thing that the show is called. We got our first rings of
Mhm.
power made.
Mhm.
Like, they're there. Here we go.
Yeah.
We're in it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So that is it, everyone. That is our, for now, last episode of Fortress Finest.
Mhm.
Devin, thank you for being here. This was a lot of fun. This was a hell
Yeah.
of a lot of fun going
I
through all
enjoy
of
this a
this.
lot. Yeah.
Season 2, maybe we'll do this again. This
We'll have
is
to come
this is
back.
great. Hopefully that it's not like in 2 years or 3 years or something.
Yeah. Oof.
I'm already waiting for more, like, ugh, yeah,
It's gonna be rough.
yeah.
What other property would just you and me watch that nobody else in the fortress watches or
I
cares
thought
about?
of this actually, The Witcher.
True. True. There is a new Witcher game coming someday.
So, The Witcher some. Yeah, so maybe we can do something with that. Who knows?
True. Yeah, season 3, I guess, coming out sometime.
Yeah. All right, listeners, that's it. You can email us at thefortress@gmail.com, fortress spelled FOUR. Feel free to email us any questions, feedback, or anything like that. Also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and the YouTube channel at the Fortress of. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your grandma, tell your cat. Rate and reviews, preferably 5 stars, but whatever. We take it what we get. Thank you, Jackie, for helping edit the podcast every week. Thank you, Brian, for the music, or Brian for the art, Alex for the music. Devin, thank you for being here as usual. You can find Brian at ITZ underscore, by the way, and Alex at Peterson Films. Devin, I don't know. You can find him. You can find him slowly
Wandering through
walking
Mordor.
around Middle Earth with a cloak over his head.
It's gonna be, you know, the Umbrella Academy meme of like in the car like passing each other. That's gonna be
Oh,
Sauron and Isildur on his horse, like like just like passing by each other. Like, what are you doing here? That's
so
me. I'm there
Isildur's
too.
gonna Isildur's gonna accidentally cut like one of Sauron's fingers just a little bit.
I'll be back for the rest, bitch.
Yeah. All right, that's it, everyone. Happy holidays, and put a code on its quote out there. Devin, our sign off. Let's do one last one. We already talked about it. You already said it, so I'm gonna switch it up a little bit to change it for the listeners. But I
Okay,
think you'll know it. I think you'll know it.
I hope so.
When in doubt, listeners,
Always follow your nose.
there it is. He nailed it.
Fuck.
All right. Goodbye, the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. We'll see you next season.
Woo.
All right.
Can't wait.
Bye, listeners.